The view from Martin Luther King Jr.'s front porch tells us he was a city kid. He grew up among Atlanta's African-American intelligentsia and other leaders drawn to his family church. Later, as a man with 3 college degrees, how alien must the brutal bigots fighting for segregation seemed, some of the most notorious of whom had never graduated from high school.
I do believe.
The era of civil rights victories began in earnest with Brown versus Board of Education in 1954. The daughter of railroad worker preacher Oliver Brown was sent across an industrial valley rather than to her neighborhood school. Topeka lawyers filed the case at this federal courthouse. The Warren Supreme Court gave the NAACP a unanimous victory, overthrowing the separate but equal doctrine.
We'll walk hand in hand.
Little Rock Central was among the most beautiful high schools in America, but its surroundings became unbelievably ugly in 1957 when segregationists blocked the transfer of 9 African American students from segregated Horace Mann High School. President Eisenhower sent troops to escort the students through the hate-filled crowd, and the school was integrated 3 weeks later.
We'll walk hand in hand someday.
4 students from North Carolina A&T, knowing they would not be served, refused to leave the Woolworth chain store's lunch counter in Greensboro. They returned each day, and after a 5-month sit-in that grew to other businesses and to other cities, the company gave in.
We are not afraid.
Mississippi refused to accept former Air Force Sergeant James Meredith into its law school in 1962. Before he was admitted, days of protest followed, with law enforcement and the military on campus. 2 people died in the riots.
We are not afraid today.
Inside this church, 4 young girls were killed by a bomb. Alabama gave us Rosa Parks, but also Viola Liuzzo, Selma, and worst of all, Birmingham. In 1963, dogs and fire hoses were used against citizens asking for their constitutional rights. Dr. King and hundreds of children were jailed. After several weeks, the protest ended successfully.
Oh, deep in my heart.
3 young civil rights workers were arrested here in June of 1964. Several hours later, they were let out of this courthouse. They drove past these pleasant houses on their way out of town to safety. After dark, a state highway patrolman and a group of local white men pulled them over. They were murdered here, one by one.
I do believe.
The Lorraine Motel near downtown Memphis was Martin Luther King's residence when he helped striking sanitation workers. On April 4, 1968, a sniper assassinated Dr. King, killing a man, but not his dreams.
We shall overcome.
The view from Mr. Lincoln's front porch will always remind Americans of the violent but transformative period when African Americans acted nonviolently and, helped by their formerly complacent fellow citizens, seized the rights that should have belonged to them all along.